Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, transgenders, non-binaries, gender fluidity. Welcome to another episode of Black Seinfeld. This is the show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, dang, Bashtin, you on the wrong mic, I think, my man. It's all good, though, because this is a great episode. This is going to be another beautiful episode. Of course, we have the...
How's it now?
Nah, man, it sounds like you're using the computer microphone.
All right, give me a minute.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You're sounding a lot better.
All right.
All right, man. How are you feeling today?
Not bad, not bad.
You are...
Glad to be here.
You're back in LA. I see the change in scenery again.
Yep, came back on July 4th. But before I even explain my story, let's introduce ourselves.
I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Do you know that meme?
No, I don't know.
Oh, it's an African song, man. It's a little girl singing just like that, singing about how she wants to go back home to her family, to her brothers and sisters. And so Black Twitter has taken that little snippet of the song and memified it a lot in TikTok and on Twitter, where, you know,
definitely missed that one.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. All right, I'm not here to joke on like amateur African music, but some African music, it's very memeable, like African movies.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Especially
you seen
the early, I guess the late 2000 ones, whenever all our parents were buying it at the same spot.
Yes.
For some reason, like Flatbush and Jamaica Avenue, all at the same person.
They are cinematic masterpieces.
I always said that there was like a secret religious, like Catholic person, like supplying or even paying for all these movies to be made because they all had the same type of villain.
Yes.
Someone dealing in dark magic. I wonder, what is that supposed to signify? Any like African religion versus non-African religion?
Mm-hmm.
So very suspicious.
Exactly. You cooning on your own previous religion, and you bringing up the mantle. You taking up the mantle of the white man's religion that they forced to teach y'all. They indoctrinated y'all with, saying Christianity is better than the original, the motherland of religions.
Yeah, essentially that's what they wanted to do.
Exactly. That's exactly what they did, Bashtin. But now, you know, there's a lot of, since we have the streaming era, as it may, I sent you a trailer called PPP loans, PPP scams.
Yeah, I didn't understand that trailer. I don't know if I want to watch it, but if you do, maybe we'll discuss that.
Come on, Masher, we have to watch it just because of how bad it looks and how bad the movie is going to be. It can be like the introduction. It could be like the black equivalent to The Room almost.
Well, might have to disagree. I have other movies for you if you want something with The Room-esque. I have two movies for you that I'll talk to you outside of the radio show. Fine. And that will give you the Room-esque vibe that you're looking for.
I think I might have a feeling on what the movies are because, of course, there's a lot of discussions on movies that are so bad they're good. So I know like Birds is one, and then there's this other gentleman who's similar to Tommy Wiseau, who created The Room, and he has that same aura, and he's that same enigma of just being very unique, let's say.
I do find it strange for these directors or writers to write, and sometimes it feels like they're missing some basic writing theory. As someone that was looking into writing back in high school and kind of read up on a couple of things, I realized you really have to dig in deep before you actually write your own, like, straight to production 1 hour and 30-minute film. Like, you have to start with the 5 minutes and 10 minutes in order to build your writing style.
Yeah.
And understand storytelling. But when these movies, straight to DVD movies or straight to Amazon, because if you want to understand, like, amateur hour VHS style tapes, like AmazonPrime.com, like, that's where all the videos you could find. Everything. I don't know how it works. Like, you just call them and say, hey, can I put my movie up? And it's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You could buy it. You could stream it. Same thing if you want to write a book. You don't necessarily have to put it, like, you don't have to print it.
Sure. Yeah.
But at
Sure.
least have your mom just like read it as an editor,
Have
just get
someone
some
edit
like
it over.
second opinion because you know it's easier just to submit it through those type of websites. So it's strange how monolithic Amazon is to have those type of things.
Or I guess you could call it creator friendly.
Well, the thing is, it's funny. Before we even introduce ourselves, which I asked you 5 minutes ago.
Sorry, I just got so into like, oh, crappy movies. We're gonna do that. Trust me.
So apparently back then, Amazon had this thing where you could write fan fiction
Whoa.
and publicize it. And in order to do that, they had to get rights for certain companies. And one of the big companies, and this is pretty interesting, is Vampire Diaries, the company that makes Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that wasn't that on MTV?
No, that was on CW11.
Oh, sorry. What was? Oh, that was Teen Wolf. That was on MTV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't get it twisted. So there's two parts. There's your CW11 Vampire Diaries, which has nothing to do with the book, and then the book is written by an author that they paid to write the books, but it's not necessarily her work. It's still her ideas that they pass through, but it's editors that say yes and no.
Okay.
After they removed her from writing that book, she ended up continuing writing that series through the fan fiction site.
So it's
in order
non-canon.
to give in order to make it her canon.
Yeah.
But it's because it's the studio's book. It's not her book. It's the studio's book. They just kind of hire her, and when they see her name on the book still, but it's written by somebody else, almost like a ghostwriter. Which essentially, I didn't know how big the ghostwriting industry is, but it's very big for books.
She Dragon Ball GT'd herself.
They Dragon Ball GT her.
Yeah.
She didn't do it to herself. They did it to her. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right, my bad. Well, anyways, before we go on with other conversations, welcome to Black Seinfeld. This is a show about nothing, absolutely nothing. I am Giovanni Anglin, Trinidadian Panamanian Poppy, Rude Boy, Top Gunna, Sak Panyamada. Yeah. Hi everyone. Welcome back.
What's going on, folks? It's Bash, and this is a recording live from LA, Geo in Brooklyn. What's going on, folks?
This is the last time Bashtin is going to be in New York for a while. I think it's going to be pretty permanent now that he's in LA. He's been back and forth traveling for the past month, I'd like to say, of June. You've been here, then you've been traveling back to LA, then you came back to New York. But now I don't think we're going to see you again until, I don't know, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, so I don't know, maybe Christmas.
I'm not even sure. Do I really want to go into winter?
That is a
especially
good
with
point.
this beautiful weather. It's like I do have a coat here, a nice white jacket that I bought. It was actually one of my favorite jackets because it was a style change. Instead of wearing black, I wore this nice cream white that if it got a little bit dirty, it still looked nice. I brought it with me to LA. It's like, wow, I don't think I'll ever truly wear it unless I go out past like 9 p.m. But it's like everything's closed by then.
Yeah,
unless it's a weekend. So
that West Coast wardrobe is a lot different, man. It hits different.
yeah, definitely hits different. And I think I said it in a other episode where I feel like I have to transition from wearing black clothes to wearing white clothes. So most dark color clothes might have to just wear it in the house. But when I go out, wear some nice creams and some white, some nice bright colors.
Isn't that a saying? I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. Have you heard of that saying?
Yes, I never understood what it stands for.
I was going to ask you if you knew why, but okay. Same. We're in the same boat because I don't understand why.
I always choose to believe that most sayings, especially if it's Caribbean, especially in New York, has to do with something that happened back home, like something that happened in the Caribbean before they brought it over here. That's
like,
something we could look into later.
Like something spiritual?
Something spiritual.
Yeah, that's fair. I always lean it back to something spiritual happened for us not to wear certain things or not to do certain things. Because Caribbeans people, we're very superstitious. Okay, I remember learning very young. I don't know if you've ever been told this, Bashtin, but you're not supposed to point at cemeteries.
Yeah, I heard that one too. That's strange.
Yeah.
You just unlocked an old memory because I used to live next to a cemetery.
Right.
So just pointing, it's like my moms would say, don't do that because you could park in front of the cemetery.
Hmm.
That's out in Queens. But yeah, they said don't ever point.
Same over in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, we have one of the largest cemeteries ever, and in that cemetery, I know some of the most famous people are buried over there. Like, I know Malcolm X is buried there. I think Prince is buried there. I think it's called like Greenwood Cemetery. If you're from Brooklyn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It stretches from Brooklyn to Queens. That's how big it is. But I remember just pointing at the tombstones one time, and I remember my dad was like, "Yeah, don't point at the cemetery ever." I don't remember the reasoning as to why you can't point at the cemetery, but hey, if you remember why, please shoot us an email at blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. Leave us all your comments, ask any questions that you like, because we do answer them, like we answered that one lawyer's question from last week. Also, please follow us on all of our social media platforms, such as TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, Black Seinfeld NY. We will be uploading more clips soon to TikTok because TikTok is slowly finding our videos, Bashtin. We're getting likes on TikTok, so we have to go back on the TikToks. I want to become TikTok famous with you.
All right, and I've developed a new style of video editing. It's much easier now. So yeah, I think we could do some nonsense. I think I just need like 3 hours of just choosing a 50-second clip, or even a 30-second clip is something I'm looking into. But yeah, TikToks, Instagram Reels, it's all addicting.
I think we had this conversation 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, but I'm more addicted to the TikTok stuff because it's never ending and it's always that algorithm knows too much about me. And I think that's the problem.
I could say the same thing for my first Instagram because I have two Instagram accounts where that algorithm knows so much about me because it's been on for like years compared to my new one where it has no idea who I am. So all the humor is all over the place and I just can't stand looking at the reel. So I just end up hopping back to my regular one, which I'm not active on anymore. And it's funny because in today's world, which is strange because this is all at the end of the day just Vine, but it fits your actual phone because phones are now large, long rectangles. Even YouTube has its own concept called shorts, but for some reason, the shorts don't work as well as like YouTube algorithm does.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the shorts that you're receiving doesn't make any sense. I have my YouTube account for more than I feel like more than 7 years now. So my YouTube page every time I hop on, it shows me what I need, right?
Okay.
Or what things like people that like the same things I like will show me the videos. But for some reason, it's like the shorts are all just bad.
Well,
It's not good.
YouTube isn't really meant for shorts. Sort of the same where Twitter was never meant to have their own IG story. Remember the
I might have
the
to
Twitter?
disagree with you because the way, and I watch a bunch of YouTubers talk about it, and I think it was just in case people know, there's this YouTuber called Ludwig and Jay Slat. They actually spoke about how the algorithm works, like in terms of if you do a video, it gets 1 million likes, but you could make like maybe $10 off of it, or maybe like $5 off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really profitable, but you could get 1 million likes or views, a million views on it much faster than you can your regular video. So it's like it's still good, like it still works. The algorithm probably just needs some time to work because I feel like it came a little bit last, but it's really good because you could get those in 1 million views real quickly.
Well, I think when it comes to YouTube in general, I've seen a lot of YouTube creators talk about this a lot. A lot of more commentary channels because that's what I like to watch on YouTube. I see there's this big commonality where a lot of them are talking about YouTube burnout because believe it or not, YouTube has been around since 2005, right? And the whole commentary community has been around for almost 10 years now. And I see this big thing of YouTube burnout, right? Where talking about the same thing sort of gets stale, or the algorithm really isn't the best anymore, or YouTube always has these viewer glitches where this creator might not get the same views, or YouTube may only promote basically the same videos that you keep seeing over and over again. Or even if you go on your like that little side, the side of YouTube where you're watching a video, you'll probably still see the same video that you've probably watched already in the recommendations list. So I keep seeing that thread pop up and pop up, and I've been experiencing that too. And I've been on YouTube since like 2007. My original account, it's been there since 2007, but I also have one for WBAI, right? And so when I'm on the YouTube for WBAI, I definitely do see what it is a lot of these commentary channels are talking about. But then when talking about, TikTok, those same creators feel like, since TikTok is still new and it's fresh, and they really cater that algorithm to your liking. And once you think you're done with whatever, like it will recommend you something different, and it's gonna keep you enticed for hours. Like I can spend hours on TikTok and I will never get bored because of how easy it is to just function. All you have to do is just swipe up, swipe down. YouTube, you have to type some things in, you have to click these certain buttons to get the creator you want. All TikTok is, I just swipe up or down or side to side. That's it. And it gives me exactly what I want because it knows me so well already.
Interesting, because I'm currently going through the same thing on my YouTube in terms of like if you're listening to music. Back then it used to just give you different types of songs or a song that's extremely popular. But after a certain point, I feel like maybe it happened 4 or 5 years ago. They just stopped doing that. Now it just consistently shows you what you keep listening to over and over again. I forgot the name of this song, but it's with MF Doom and the GZA. And it constantly comes up. Like every time listening to music, it'd be like 10 songs that I already heard back and forth because you leave it on autoplay. And then boom, it's back to this song again. It's like I refuse to listen to the song because every time I allow my YouTube music to play an autoplay, it goes back to that one video. And it's been like that for over 5 years. So this burnout you're talking about, I do think it has to do with the lack of staffing in YouTube. Just allowing the YouTube to algorithm to just run YouTube and just have people there on YouTube just to fix certain complaints just in case someone messages you or them in terms of just a service. So I don't know if Google just gave up on YouTube and say it will make money no matter what, which is true.
That is very true now.
But in a way, you kind of lost the appetite, or you just lost ways to find out new types of interviewers or new types of content creators that will fit. Like now it takes Twitter and Instagram and TikTok in order for you to find their YouTube page, because they'll pop off on. That's why they have to use those applications. Because they know, like even what you said is true. Sometimes a video could just constantly pop up and you never click it. That's just the algorithm. You never click it, but people are clicking it. That's why it keeps popping up. But it might just pop up a little bit too long. But yeah, that's why people have to use TikTok and Instagram. That's the best way to market yourself.
Absolutely. And now I also see a lot of what is called YouTube burnout, where on YouTube it seems like in order for you to become successful on YouTube, right, people feel like you just have to continuously be consistent, right? Drop video after video after video, wherever it's like 1 video a week, 2 videos a week. And you see a lot of big YouTubers take these long breaks after becoming big, because they always talk about becoming burnt out with all this content that they've been doing for weeks on edge, because the one thing that you're always told about being a creator, no matter what platform it is being consistent with your audience and always uploading something. Because the minute you decide to take a break, or the minute you decide to go on vacation, that could be like the end of your content creation career, essentially. But it seems like nowadays where YouTubers are starting to get big, or YouTubers are at that platform enough where they're allowed to start taking more breaks. But also TikTok, it depends on how long you want to create a video. You could create a video as long as 3 minutes. You can create a video as long as 54 seconds. And while there's a lot more effort that can come to there can be a lot more effort that comes to making TikTok videos. I know some TikTokers that just react to content and like that's it. You're done.
Yeah, the reaction content.
Mm-hmm.
And I think reactions are a little bit difficult because one, you can't just straight up do reaction. You have to make your own videos first.
Yes.
Because I have to connect with your personality. Then you can start your reaction, which is a little bit more cut and dry, but you have to actually react to the video. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's a 10-minute video and you're watching it and you don't react for the first 3 minutes. Like, what are you doing? I came to watch your reaction.
Right.
And there are some reaction people I do watch. I think, for example, like the Hasanabi, what he does is he's kind of known for pausing. So if it's a 10-minute video, now if someone re-uploads his reaction, it's like 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you just going through conversations and extending the video within itself, I think that's a great idea. But if you're just watching a 10-minute video, someone re-uploads your reaction, and I'm talking about like Twitch culture, that's what they do as well.
Okay.
And you see it's just 11 minutes. It's like, when did they react? Are they reacting during the video? Because not, then what's the content? I actually do have a problem with that in TikTok because they're just like, I could watch like a 1 minute TikTok, one person on the left, one person on the right, and the person just eating, laughing, nodding his head, and that's it. It's like,
yeah,
what did you do here? what am I watching?
It can be that easy.
I'm gonna mute your page now.
Sometimes
because
Bashtin,
you have
it can
no
be
content.
That easy. It can be that easy for some TikTokers to just make a face and they'll get views off of it.
No, I hate it. I
understand.
Completely hate it. It's not even TikTok that started it. It's Facebook started it. That because it was much easier to, Facebook has a way bigger viewing spectrum compared to YouTube because it goes all around the world.
Right, that's fair.
So that's the first time I saw it, and I always hated Facebook videos. Never got attached to it. I don't even have a Facebook anymore. But that type of content, that gets like a 2 thumbs down from me. I cannot watch. If you're a content creator and you do that, like that's not it.
I think the thing that makes TikTok, I wouldn't say better than YouTube, but I'd say it's definitely more popular right now than YouTube, is due to the fact that TikTok plays up to the short attention span that I feel like a lot of people have nowadays too. I think YouTube videos have gotten a lot longer in format, and the production value has gotten a lot better, and the editing is a lot sharper, and it sort of feels like you're watching television now when you're on YouTube. But with TikTok, as I said before, videos can be very short, or the max videos are like 3 minutes long. And I think, mix that in with just the ability just to swipe up and down to, it's like channel surfing almost. I think that also helps with the popularity of TikTok nowadays.
Yeah, and we spoke about this during our Quibbly episode, which was early last year.
Yes.
If I recall.
And then Quibbly died in like 4 months.
And it was the worst time and the best time to come out because in that era, many of these companies are fighting for your screen time.
Yes.
So when Quibbly came out, Quibbly came out, it was fighting against Netflix, Disney Plus, and all these other applications on your phone. And it's really, really difficult to fight TikTok, especially because TikTok popped off because of the Trump era. Because he wanted to ban TikTok, or he wanted to, wanted American companies to be a part owner of it. It was very strange. Now looking back, I don't think we discussed it, but I don't think people don't ever understood it. But that's what these applications are trying to do. Like, they're fighting for your time. So if TikTok could keep you in the loop for 3 hours, boom, there's go half your day. And if you're working, it's even better. But still, there goes half your day. You're just watching all these videos. I do have a mental limit of like 10 minutes. So usually if I'm watching, like, for me, it's like Instagram Reels, I could probably max do it for 10 minutes. Then say, all right, I'm done. So I do get cloudy brain and everything. So luckily for me, I can never get trapped in the cycle. Unless I'm on YouTube watching like a 1 hour, 30-minute video about something like Fantastic Four. That was a really interesting video. Interesting.
I recently saw part 2 of FD Signifier's Manosphere.
Manosphere. Yeah, I knew you were gonna
Yeah,
say that.
I thought he was great. I thought it was great, man. He's really good at creating these essays, but also formatting them out and it just flowing so well for an hour and some change. It's really good. I love seeing the longer content on YouTube now. I think it's sweet that we can get over an hour long video and people are willing to sit down and watch it. I remember watching this 5 hour video on this dude talking about Victorious, the series. 5 hours.
That's on my list. I just don't have time. But before I lose track of this, I think in my brain
Sure.
how music is very short right now, and it's always been a cycle. Like music used to be 3 minutes, then 8 minutes, but now it's back to under 3 minutes because of streaming. And I do think because of how YouTube blew up, especially now there's a lot more leftist writers on YouTube, and they're like 2 or 3 hours long. And these videos are fun and interesting. I do think eventually music will go back into like a 5-6 minutes per song. That's kind of my step. Like, okay, people, it's true what you said. People do have a short attention span, but if it's good, they don't mind sitting and watching it or listening to it.
That's
So
fair.
I'm hoping we could go back to our 6-7 minutes per song. I think the last era was pretty much Justin Timberlake's 2020 Experience Part 1, where all those songs were pretty long, but it was very good. And that was kind of the end. That was literally the end. Now everything kind of, short circuit. But yeah.
There's certainly a balance to that, Bashtin, because I look at how cinema is now, and a lot of movies are more than 2 hours long.
People hate that, though.
Nah, I disagree. I
People
definitely
hate that because most of these movies aren't worth 2 hours.
see. All right, you said that right there. But I think if the movie is good, like Dune, right? Dune is more than 2 hours. We saw. I don't know if we want to count Endgame. That's more than 2 hours. The freaking what's the new one that came out in November? Eternals was more than 2 hours, and that was a mixed bag. But the fact that people were able just to sit there and watch
let's
it,
say non-Marvel stuff, right? Let's focus on non-Marvel because people will always sit down for Marvel stuff. So
Okay.
non-Marvel, as you said, Dune is a great example. Batman, we never got a chance to discuss it yet,
right?
but that was too long in my opinion.
Yes.
Loved the
Yes.
movie, but it was
Yes.
too long. The last 30 minutes is a snore fest.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about that. Like they should have cut it off right after. What did I say? As soon as they caught the Riddler, I thought they should have ended it right there. That whole final act of him blowing up the stadium or whatever. I didn't like that part.
Gotham Square Garden.
Yeah, I didn't like that. But even after that, right, where they had that nice shot of the citizens going on the helicopter, and you see that nice shot of Robert Pattinson looking up in the sky. They should have ended it right there. I'm like, all right, this is a good way to end it. And it just kept going on and on and on and on. I'm just
which is like I said, it's really painful to sit through that part because I watched this movie multiple times. I have HBO Max.
Oh, right.
And then I think about like the Snyder cut of Justice League, right?
Okay.
Which is 4 hours long, but it's divided into 4 parts, so I could take my time, I could skip parts, and I know what to expect because it's 4 hours long. I enjoy that a lot, but I can only imagine that if they split it into 2 parts, the movie theater would be really good. But imagine sitting in the movie theaters for 5 hours watching this.
I hear you, but I'll say this for a lot of people who grew up watching Bollywood movies. There's actually like intermission that they do in the middle of the movies.
I heard.
I think it would be cool to see that in American cinema, but I always think about what happens when you take that intermission and people are going out and they're on the lines getting whatever they need to get, and people are in the bathrooms. I think about how noisy it can be when returning to the cinema after the intermission. I always do think about that.
That's very interesting. I never thought about that. I only believe it cannot work because of how Disney floods the movie theater in terms of showtime.
What do you mean?
Like for example, the last Doctor Strange movie that came out recently.
Okay.
What is it called? Strange Darkness, whatever.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, that movie, right?
Yes.
Decent movie, not bad. But when I was in LA around that time. LA has like no good movie theaters. I just gotta say it. New York really just, yeah, it's embarrassing.
What about the Chinese one?
That's the one I went to.
Oh, really?
That's funny. That's the one I went to. It's this. Yeah, Chinese is the best way to describe it. I'll give you the name in a second, but that's the movie theater I went to.
Yeah, it's like one of the most famous theaters in LA.
I think it's meant to be something else besides watching a Marvel movie inside there.
Okay.
That's the way I feel about it, because I sat there, I watched the movie, and I just felt sick watching it in that theater.
Oh.
I don't know how to describe my experience there, but I just did not. This is my third time watching a movie in LA too. I was like, and all three different movie theaters. Like, I can't find my theater yet.
Was it like something in the air?
It's called the TCL Chinese Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, this one was on Hollywood Boulevard, and it's only one screen.
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's only one screen. It's only one screen in that movie theater.
So it's just one theater in that movie, and I'm assuming they show multiple movies at different times on that one screen.
Yes.
Okay.
So the thing is, it's like straight all Doctor Strange, and when I went to look for the other movie theaters, it was the same thing. It's like 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4. It's like throughout the entire theater, it is booked. So even if you had like a movie come out the same time,
right,
it probably cut its showing by like 75%. So before it used to have maybe 10 showings, now it has 5 showings. While Doctor Strange, and this is what people are talking about, how Disney is ruining the movie theater experience by increasing the amount of show times given during the first month or maybe the first 6 weeks.
I can see that because of how popular the series is. I can see
that.
No,
how they want to maximize the profit.
Oh.
And the worst part about it is I don't remember the percentage, but I think within the first month, 100 or a good 90% of the profits go straight to Disney. Then later on, it trickles down. But because of the roller coaster movie experience that we're getting from Marvel, we're all going to watch it the first week or maybe the first 3 weeks because we don't want to be captured or enamored by spoilers. So by the 8th week and 9th week, there's nobody really watching that movie besides somebody that wants to watch it a second time.
Yeah.
And that being said, that's pretty low. It's like it has to be really good for someone to watch it a second time.
That's fair.
So now we have Disney Plus, so no one's really going to watch it that second time. They're just going to wait 3 months for it to go straight to streaming. So now all these movie theaters aren't making that same profit like they used to because Disney is pumping those numbers up, getting 90. I forgot the percentage. I'm just going to say 90% of that first couple of weeks, and then those last couple of weeks is theirs, but they're not really getting much.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I can definitely see that. And it's funny that you mentioned Marvel movies and how much they've messed up the movie theater experience because we have Thor coming out this Friday, and when the podcast listeners hear this, it's going to be Friday. So I'm interested to see how that pans out for you over in the West Coast. I don't know if you plan on seeing it opening weekend or next week.
I'm not planned. I think Doctor Strange burnt me out. Even though I like that movie, it just kind of destroyed my experience with Marvel. Like, I don't want to watch another Marvel movie again.
I'll be completely honest with you, Bashtin.
Yeah.
I remember you were telling me about the Thor Love and Thunder reviews and how it has some positive reviews, but also there's some negative reviews. It's sort of in the middle there. And not gonna lie, I didn't want to speak on that because I started to get a bit emotional, and the reason being is because I think after Thor, if it's not as good as I like Ragnarok, and I know you didn't like Ragnarok, I think I feel the same way as you. I don't think I'm gonna like go out and watch Marvel movies on like the opening weekend as I did for every other freaking Marvel movie. I mean, think about it. Marvel movies has been part of our our childhood. Basically, it started off in 2007, 2008 with Iron Man, and it's been with us since middle school, high school, college. Now we're damn near almost 30 years old. So that's basically, it's been there for the majority of our lives. I mean, next year it's coming up on its 15th anniversary. So, Marvel movies has meant a lot to me. I think it's one of the main reasons why I started doing Nerd New York back in college radio, and with the success of the first Avengers back in 2012, I looked at that movie as like, hey, this is really like the movie where that signifies that nerd culture, comic book culture, all that stuff is now part of the mainstream, is now part of pop culture. Then we had New York Comic Con be like the second biggest Comic Con outside of the San Diego Comic Con that's over in California. So Marvel has always meant a lot to me, basically. And seeing, Captain Marvel, I mean Miss Marvel isn't that great, and Doctor Strange wasn't that great. Like, I could have watched it on Disney Plus, and I'm seeing all the Thor reviews, and I'm just like, I think it's that time of the peak that is Marvel's coming to an end, and I'm definitely not looking forward to that new Black Panther movie. I am not. Like, that movie scares me to death.
Yeah. So I think this is our brain telling us. Well, first of all, first one's okay, but this is our brains telling us like, hey, you used to love movies. What happened to you? You used to love film. What happened to you? And that's what it feels like my brain is telling me, because I used to go to movie theaters watching random movies, but It's no longer like that. Yeah, I no longer, like, the reason I don't watch movies anymore is because my brain just can't get accustomed to it anymore. Every time I go to a movie, it's a roller coaster ride. Watching watching Superman versus Batman, watching Spider-Man, watching all of these action hero films, and it just breaks your brain. But Wes Anderson still has like amazing movies that I love to watch in movie theaters. But
love Wes. So if Wes Anderson comes out with a new movie, you would go to see that in theaters?
Yeah, I always watch this stuff when it's on DVD. I've never seen, maybe Moonlight Kingdom. I saw that in the movie theater, but Moonlight Kingdom. But every other Wes Anderson movie I've seen on like HBO or on Netflix or something.
That's fair. Later on, we're going to talk more about movies, because I've been to the movies recently, and I've seen a handful of movies that I'd like to talk to everyone about. But Bashtin, would you like to get into the song of the week, or would you like to talk about 4th of July?
Let's quickly get into some 4th of July talk, because
Sure.
we definitely spoke a bit. The 4th of July was on Monday, and that was the day I flew. So, of course, when I got home to LA, I just chilled all day. Didn't go outside, didn't see a single firework, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But the weekend was a July 4th weekend, so I was able to go to cookouts, see family I haven't seen in a long time, especially because the pandemic it's like you couldn't see them because of work for 2 years, and the pandemic added another 2 years, so you haven't seen them really in like 5 years. So I felt like I had to go to some of these get-togethers, because I haven't seen a lot of people in a long time.
That's fair.
So, and it was good to see everybody. I used that time to like, oh yeah, we used to be outside. I used to be outside. Yeah. What happened to me? Sad.
Nothing happened to you, man. I always tell people the pandemic has aged us 2 years. And we just, in those 2 years,
5 years, if anything, it just crushes you.
Yeah. And we basically had to sit on our asses for like a good year and a half. I remember I finally made my first year at my new job, because I started last year, July 6th. And that was the Tuesday after Independence Day Observed, because Independence Day Observed was the Monday. And so no one was working. So my first official day was on that Tuesday, July 6th. And so everything just changed within a year. It's weird how everything changed. We have the vaccine. We have a lot more lifts a lot more lifts when it comes to vaccination restriction now. And then with the 4th of July, I think about how there's a lot more parades going around. I know that a lot more people have been outside, and I saw a lot more people going to barbecues, going to cookouts, a lot more festivities. So I got to see that. And of course, I'd be remiss because this is New York after all. The hot dog eating competition happened as well, which is a tradition for the 4th of July here in New York. Over in Brooklyn, of course, Coney Island, the Nathan's hot dog eating competition that happened, and of course we have the reigning, defending Glizy Gladiator for the past now 15 years in Joey Chesnut, and he's regained his title as top Glizy Gladiator after eating around what 62, 63 hot dogs in under 10 minutes. And what's crazy about Joey Chestnut doing this again is the fact that he was injured this year. He's hobbling on one leg because his leg is all busted up, and he has these intestinal problems. I mean, gee, I wonder why you got all intestinal problems there, Joey. Probably eating all them damn glizzies. But hey,
have to retire.
He has to retire. But I saw something interesting. I think you sent this to me. That was his flu games right there. This is like This was the equivalent flu games like Michael Jordan had in the finals. This was his flu games.
And yeah, he had like a bad leg, right?
He didn't say what happened, but he just said life happened. So, take that interpretation as you will. So
he's a superstar.
That's right.
But he's a celebrity, but not like he's not doing a cameo in a movie.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair statement. I think Joey Chestnut and the other dude, Kobayashi, I think those are like the two eaters that people will know. Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi, that's it. Everyone else we don't. Oh, and that dude who kept rapping, he was there again too. Badlands Booker, he was there too again. He was freaking rapping with
Well, he's a chug master. We gotta respect his chug game.
I respect the chug game.
I tried chug a soda for 3 and I was just burping for 10 minutes after that. So
you know what? I had to see a video of him. I would respect him if he chugs a whole liter of McDonald's Sprite, cause that is something serious. That's like swallowing battery acid.
But yeah, July 4th. One thing that's always been very interesting about July 4th is the fireworks and how legal/illegal it is in New York City. And it's only strange because every year we talk about safety in this. Every year we watch videos of people wilding out. And it's the same thing this year again, where you see people doing fireworks too close to the house and not in the middle of the street, not understanding that it is still an explosive and it's still dangerous. So if you're using that like 500 milligram cake, you have to make sure it's as far away as possible and how high it could actually reach. So don't shoot it under or next to a tree. Do it in the middle of your street, or at least understand where to shoot it.
Yes.
But, it is what it is. I did find it very interesting. Gio actually brought to my attention that it was pretty quiet outside in New York. Listen. Especially 3 days before July 4th.
Listen, all right. 2020 has haunted me, especially 2020 summertime has haunted me ever since. Because if you were around that time, you know that fireworks were a major issue during summertime, during June, like middle of June. All these fireworks kept going off in the middle of the night. It started once the sun set, once the sun was down, until once the sun freaking rose. All you heard at night was just fireworks going off every single night. It was.
Hey, my part of Brooklyn, even at 3 p.m., the sun was out. Someone shot a firework.
Yes, you couldn't see the freaking firework, but hey, someone shot them out back in 2020, and I remember seeing videos of basically like it looked like a freaking Hogwarts wizard duel where you just saw red and yellow lights being shot at each other, and I remember like there's this one woman who complained about someone lighting up the fireworks, and then the woman died because of it. And I just saw all this stuff on the news about fireworks and fireworks around the neighborhood. And last year it wasn't that bad. 2022, this year, I hadn't heard any real fireworks up until July 4th, and now like I don't hear any fireworks anymore, which leaves me to think 2020 was some sort of conspiracy around that era, around that time specifically. All right, and I don't even like to use conspiracy theory like that, but this one right here, I got a real hunch like that those fireworks were planted on purpose.
Before we continue, Badlands did chug McDonald's Sprite back in April 18, 2020. So if you want to check out that video, Gio, he actually did do it.
That is a sick Negro. I have to watch it. I respect him. I respect it. I have to watch it.
But going back to fireworks, yeah, it was a very strange conspiracy. We all spoke about it, but then it just kind of disappeared. But it was very annoying. It was popping off for like a good month and a half before July 4th, and that's what made things extremely strange. And this year, just chilling at home, next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's July 4th. It wasn't that popping. Strange.
Yeah.
It was just loud every day, but nothing happened. So that's something that always stays in my mind. That and like fireworks safety and how important it is. And don't go crazy. At least understand what you're doing and what you're buying. Like we're buying something, ask them how to use it. Safety is always key, because if you don't want to blow your hand up like that football star.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, so lost the contract. Anyways, yeah, Joey Chesnut won again.
Shout out to Joey Chesnut, the Glizy Gladiator, our Glizy Gladiator. No one can beat him. 15 years in the game, still Bashtin, undefeated since 2007, right?
Something like that. I think so. No, I think he lost, or he didn't go between 2007 to now. I think one of those years. But still, he's definitely still undefeated.
That's right.
And on Friday, I actually went to the Jean-Michel Basquiat King Pleasure exhibit, which is in Manhattan.
Yes.
And it was pretty interesting. Most of the paintings and artworks and sketches and ideas were never out in public, so that was like one event that they wanted to show people. And just going around and seeing his artwork, it's not the same if you're a New Yorker or if you're a big fan of Jean Basquiat. There was one in Brooklyn Museum that happened back in 2017, if I recall. That was really good. That was very interesting. They had a lot of artwork there. This one, I could say, was on a smaller scale, but still felt very personal, because while you're walking around, there's videos of family members talking about him, and the idea of like preserving his artwork, especially after he passed away, and saying it's not about the money. It's pretty much about preserving who he is as a person and his identity, and just keeping on that legend. And I thought it was very nice. Like you felt that it was personal this time compared to last time. It felt like a museum, especially compared to other museums. I remember back in 2019, I went to like a Hobbit museum, and it was very small, but you could feel like it was a cash cow. That's how I felt. But this one, it did feel like the family did want you to see some of his artworks that they never had a chance to put up there. And it was very inspiring. I took a couple pictures and try to understand his artwork, how political it is. And this guy had a lot of ideas. So I definitely recommend, if you're in New York, check out the Jean-Michel Basquiat King Pleasure exhibit.
Oh, so I was going to ask you, so who was able to display the artwork? So it's his family who runs that entire operation.
Yeah, I don't know what company this is, because when I got there, it was a little bit lost. But they were just using like the spot as spacing for like the store and for the artwork within itself. A lot of security, a lot of people is like, if there's the line, don't cross it.
Ooh,
it almost kind of felt like the MoMA type-esque energy.
Hey, I know exactly that sort of energy that you speak of, because I remember when I was 16, I went to the Louvre right over in Paris, France. And of course, if you don't know, the Louvre, that's where they have the Mona Lisa. So the Mona Lisa is protected by bulletproof glass, and there's this like big beam that's right in front of it too, and you have to take at least like 5 steps back in order to look at the Mona Lisa, and people are taking pictures, and it's very high tech security for a lot of the big pieces, but especially like Mona Lisa. So I'm assuming a lot of the Basquiat paintings were like that. It was sort of like, yo, all right, you see it, don't try it, don't hop over the beam, like don't even point, just take your little picture. That's it.
Yeah, it's almost like that, because every time you look at it, it feels like there's a lot going on. Especially, if you take art history in college, at least just one semester of it, you feel that you can gain some knowledge, that you understand a little bit artwork. So when you look, it's like, all right, so you start off with a black background, then built his way up to this very orange bright, and what's this word he has on the corner? So it's always fun going to art museums. And I remember I said I went to LACMA. This is the LA version of MoMA, and it was almost the same thing there as well. So yeah, like I said, I recommend go checking it out. And there's this one, and it's funny because I remember talking to a relative about it in the cookout, and said, yeah, most of this, quote unquote, is like not seen in public, sure, but it's definitely been on like a unique little T-shirt. So I was like, all right, this is.
Do you own some of these Uniqlo?
Yes, I do, and I'll show it to you later on.
Okay.
Which one it is too? It's ridiculous. But let's get into our first song.
Yes, let's get into the first song of the week, the day. What we got, man?
So I found it's weird because there's this argument about like Elvis, right? And you're going to talk about Elvis later.
We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, but there's an argument online. I was reading on Twitter talking about Elvis, and it's like white people doing black people music, and he was the first one to pop off and make a lot of money on it. And there's like, yeah, some of the people are whack, and I'm an OG Eminem fan. I can't lie, that was my error. I was 12 when everything was popping off with him, so you can't blame me. Anyways, they're talking about like all these other white rappers, and someone brought up Beastie Boys, and someone said, whoa, hold up, Beastie Boys is cool. And then they said, like, it's like Beastie Boys stole Tribe. Like, no, Tribe came after Beastie Boy. You're an idiot. And Q-Tip actually did a song with Beastie Boys, and I actually never heard of it. So I went to go look it up, and I heard it. It's like, okay, this is that OG hip hop that we're missing today. Too much trap music, too much like Cardi B. She came out with a new single. People aren't crazy about it, but come on, I heard the snippet. It was like the first 10 seconds of the snippet. Like, this is the drums you're going for. This is the hi-hats you're going for. I like Kanye's verse. I like Lil Durk's voice, but I was like, all right, this song, when will hip-hop, especially mainstream hip-hop, at least go back to what it was before, or at least change the way we do the drums? Anyways, check out the song with the Beastie Boys and Q-Tip called Get It Together.
Get It Together, Beastie Boys, Q-Tip. I remember hearing this song, Bashtin. There was this DJ that I used to listen to back in the early 2010s where he did a 9-hour mix of 80s and 90s hip-hop. And so I remember that song in particular. I believe that was in the first 2 minutes of the mix. So I didn't know. I knew it was Q-Tip, but I didn't know it was with the Beastie Boys. So when I heard oh my gosh, I'm like, oh, I know this record. And the drums, I was like, oh, I've heard this record before. I just didn't realize it was the Beastie Boys, because when I think of Beastie Boys, I think of the very reverby vocals that the distorted reverby vocals that they've had and they've adopted later on in their career.
Yeah, Beastie Boys champion of that sound back in the day. But when I heard this song, it's like, man, these drums. You really gotta listen to like old 90s or early 2000s music for these drums. Yeah, they don't really hit the same, because like even listening to the song, you could hear, like, you could tell it's not mixed in today's today's
Ableton or Pro Tools
style. No, not even that. It's just like the Beastie Boys rappers sound a little bit further away from the mic.
Yes,
because they're yelling so much. And also, so in today's standards, it's not mixed the same.
But also, I feel like when it comes to today's music, it can be sometimes a bit cleaner than the older stuff. The older boom bap sound has a lot more. It's a bit more grit to it.
Yeah, because it's being recorded over and over and over again.
It has more pop to it.
So yeah, the tape is all crusty and messed up by the time it gets to the final recording, but it still sounds great. That's what they always said. The old RZA stuff is better than the new stuff because he changed.
Yes.
Like he's doing Pro Tools now, so everything sounds very crisp and clean.
Yes.
Compared to the rusty stuff. So yeah.
And we did talk about 2 weeks ago Logic Vinyl Days, where he sort of encapsulates and tries to capture that sound in some of his records, which I think he did pretty well. And I think, you were talking about what's missing now in music. I think Logic was able to capture that a bit with Vinyl Days. Well, look at me paying Logic some compliments for his production and his ode to 90s.
My joke with the Cardi B joke was not like dissing Cardi B. I'm just dissing like the drums that we use in today's hip hop. Drums is the Achilles of many producers.
Yes.
It's not easy.
It's the pulse. It's the heartbeat.
And it's very difficult to do. So, I understand why everybody's using the same drums, but at the end of the day, it's like, change it up,
Who do you think in this rap game nowadays, who do you think has the best beats or best drum sounds?
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott?
Travis Scott and
I'll give it to Kenny
Hit
Beats.
Boy.
Kenny got some fire
Kenny,
drums, man.
Kenny,
Vince Staples' record.
I might have to disagree.
Okay.
Saying he has fire drums, but I think he knows how to make great melodies. I think he makes great beats, but the drums are just where they need to be. Because when I mean great, excellent drums, is the drums could overshadow the entire beat. You could make great beats, and the drums are just perfect. But we're talking about who makes great drums. I'm talking about like Hit Boy. And talking about like Travis Scott, like those guys knows what drums are supposed to sound like on a record sometimes. So yeah, that's the difference. That's the only to answer your question. This is like, but I agree. Kenny Beats, amazing beats. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let's get into the next topic. Next topic, I reached out to Gio about this a couple days ago. I think this fits within our conversation dealing with tech and even investments. Do you remember that, Gio?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's funny how I mentioned the PPP scam movie, because I think a lot of investments and a lot of crypto investments and a lot of that stuff now has been influencing, if you will, the black community, the black entrepreneur community, if you will, because I think nowadays, I think it's beautiful that black people are now paying attention to investing and paying attention to how the next big thing, where like Facebook became the next big thing, or Amazon or Google or Apple. I think it's great that black people are starting to pay attention to that stuff. However, I think, due to the certain circumstances that we've been dealt with, I think sometimes the hope is always making a lot more money to get out of the situations that we've been going through in our past, and what our parents have gone through and what our grandparents have gone through. And in that, I think, with a lot of these PPP loans or even, crypto investments, it's used to the not to the investors advantage, but to the people who create the coin, or the people who created this NFT. It's used to their advantage, because what happens is we see a lot of things on the internet where, we like to call them LLC Twitter, where they just live, breathe business, live, breathe investing, live and breathe a lot of these. I like to say a lot of those LLC scams or crypto scams, or a lot of those Forex scams where a lot of people of color come in this community to recruit others to say, hey, you know how you can not be broke invest in this coin or invest in this currency or invest in this NFT. And if you do that and you give us some of your money and you invest in this, you can be rich just like us. You see that Bentley I got? I was just like you 5 months ago, and look at me now. I got this Bentley. I'm working on getting this house. And when, you know, people who don't have anything, they see that, they want to get that. And when, you know, they join up with these groups or they join in and invest in these things, and they don't see the money that comes, that they expected to come out of it, a lot of people turn away from it and they feel like they've been scammed. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Who's been affected most by a lot of these NFTs, a lot of these cryptocurrencies, a lot of it. And guess who it is, people? It's us. It's the black community. It's black men in particular, too.
So let me quickly discuss this. The other day, I read an article from the Financial Times by Taylor Nicole Rogers. The title of this article is called "Crypto Collapses Reverberates Widely Among Black American Investors," which caught my attention. This article dives into how cryptocurrencies are being promoted by celebrity endorsements, sponsorships, and advertisements directly at the black community, making them invest in a high-risk investment like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, for example. And before I continue, black communities amongst all the other communities too, I do think it's just like people of color and even the lower income communities. It will be also involved within this conversation, but this article was definitely told with the perspective of black people.
Yes.
But I like to think the same because people are trying to get rich quick.
Yes.
And on Black Seinfeld, over the past, we lightly discussed stocks from when GameStop was popping off to cryptocurrencies rising, and even joking around with the multi-level marketing, how disgusting and hilarious they are.
Of course, the rise of NFTs with rug pulls, we've discussed about that as well. So Black Seinfeld, we're not shy away from talking about the economy, a lot of cryptocurrencies. We're not, we don't shy away from that. And so now we're seeing the effects from all that stuff, which we warned your asses about.
Yeah, in today's get-rich-quick society, many people jump into trends very uninformed, and even if they do get information, they might not give it enough time to understand the repercussions of investing in said trend. And this article references how in the beginning of the year, a quarter of black American investors had invested in cryptocurrencies compared to only 15% of white investors, according to a survey by Charles Schwab. Since then, Bitcoin has went from $43,000 all the way to $20,000 in a matter of 6 months. Yeah. And that's roughly 50% of value gone. So if you were to put 20K up in January, you're now down to 10K and you'd be sick. Like, just sticks to your stomach. So now, Gio, I have some questions for you.
Please.
In order to kind of create a discussion on this topic.
Okay, shoot
and
away.
I don't want this to go nowhere. I think what I'm trying to say in this conversation is like to be careful and understand what your risk is.
Absolutely.
Because there's always a risk reward. So Gio, talking about you, when you first learned about crypto, for example, right? When you first learned about crypto, how long did it take you to invest in it?
Honestly, Bashtin, the first time I remember hearing about cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, I think the first time I heard about it was from you. This was back in 2017. You're like, oh, hey, did you hear this thing about Bitcoin? I'm like, no, what is it? He's like, it's cryptocurrency. What's cryptocurrency? And so you explained to me what exactly it is. And you talked about how basically the currency is on the rise, right? This was back when Bitcoin was like $3,000. No, 5, it started off at like 3,000. Then it went up to 5. And then it kept going up.
Of
right.
2017, the summer of. Yeah. Then by the end, it went up to 6,000.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the first time I ever heard of cryptocurrency, right? And so the only way I knew I was going to ever try to invest that stuff is learning it from you, right? Because you knew what you were doing when it came to that stuff, right? But I never wanted to invest in it because honestly, I just didn't really know much about even stocks back then, because we were just 22. around that time. So I didn't really know any better. I just kept
Okay.
seeing everyone talk about crypto, and just I remember it just the stocks kept rising and rising and went to 10,000, and that was like a huge deal. Then it went to 15,000, and that was a huge deal, and it kept going up to 20,000. I was like, holy crap! And so once I hit the 20,000 mark, I was like, okay, I can invest in this. This isn't
So
for
that's like
me.
that's a big difference. That's a big distance in between because in 2018 went up to 17K, then kind of dropped from the all the way down from there.
Yeah.
And just to kind of backpedal a little bit, my experience on it is I had extra money that I was looking to invest in stuff, but it was very difficult to use and it's not really that difficult. I just didn't care to learn how to trade regular stocks
Hmm.
because I think at that time, no, I don't think Robinhood was a huge thing,
Yeah, it wasn't a
but
huge thing yet.
it was more of these Acorn, for
Yes,
example.
it was
Acorn
definitely
was
Acorn.
popping,
Yes.
and I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the concept of it, like it just using leftover change on my debit card at the time, and using that to invite and invest into stocks, and you own percentage of it. I didn't think that was great for my money, for what I was doing. And one of my boys, Amador, I just gave him a shout out last week. He told me about Coinbase and like how easy it is to use. So from there, I looked into it. I didn't jump directly into it, but I was looking, and I thought because how simple the application is and how quickly it was to sign up, even connecting your bank and boom, sent money there just like that. I was like, oh, okay, this is a little bit different, and I think this is what affects the black community or even like the lower income community as well, because of how easy it is to throw your money at something because of these applications.
Hmm.
Because I'm not saying that these other applications, for example, like E-Trade, for example, had its own system where you had to pay, right? It wasn't free. Like for every transition you do, you had to pay like a dollar or something, giving you
Right.
a rough, just a random amount. It was until Robinhood came around where it's like, oh, we're not giving like you could trade as much as you want, and we're not going to take like a cut from it. That's when companies like E-Trade had to remove those type of things. That's why it was harder for lower income to get an E-Trade account and to throw $10,000 inside, or at least $25,000 to start day trading.
Yep.
So now it's a little bit easier, especially with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So now you don't have to put $1,000. You could literally start off with 10. So when they talk about, when this article spoke about the quarter, like 25% of black people have some money in cryptocurrencies, in my mind, the first thing is like, yeah, they could have like 100. They could have like $1,000 worth in like some stock.
Yeah.
It might not hurt them compared to other people. In this article, for example, he said the gentleman in the article put like $20,000 or part of his life savings inside. That hurts him.
Oh, absolutely. Expecting it to grow like it was growing back from 2017 onward. Yeah.
Well, especially if you start investing in 2020. Like I had an opportunity to buy 2 whole Bitcoins, but I didn't
Hmm.
because I was delusional with COVID at the time. But I should have. I should have just did it, just like in pain in my bed, just like invest in it. But that's something I don't really care to think about anymore.
Hmm.
And I think that's important with understanding like the risk reward ratio, and that's something investors will talk about all the time. My
Always.
cousin, one of my cousins constantly tells me how difficult it is for the investor to live by their rules that they set for themselves. So if you see your stock go up 15% and you told yourself you will pull out, and you said, nah, I'm gonna keep it, and it goes 20 and you still didn't pull out, then goes down 15, there you go, you only could pull out 5%. You made the rule for yourself, but you didn't do it because you got greedy.
It's sort of like gambling in a way, Bastion.
It is gambling.
Yeah.
It is in a sense. Gamblers will tell you there's a technique to everything, and a little bit of luck. You just have to keep on going, right?
Hmm.
Eventually you'll be able to make
Win.
it or break it. At the end of the day, and that's what we're looking at in the cryptocurrency community, right? I
Yes.
myself haven't invested in cryptocurrency in a minute.
Same.
And that's because I'm not working right now, and I'm just not interested in sitting down and doing the research. And that's what people don't do. the
That is
reading.
true. That is a huge fact, Bastion, because I think people only jump, especially when it comes to like crypto or just stocks and NFTs in general. They hop on things because it's popular, and people tell them, hey, and people learn about it from word to mouth or the internet or friends or whatever. Um, and I don't
Wait,
think,
quick question for you:
please.
did you talk to other people about crypto later, especially now?
Well, I remember after talking to you about it the first time, I know that a lot of people in the kitchen was talking a lot about cryptocurrency.
And did you feel confident, like they knew what they were talking about?
Yes and no,
Hmm.
because to be fair, I know like Bitcoin was around for a longer time, but you had to be really into to cryptocurrency and what it was supposed to represent to actually understand what the benefit of Bitcoin was supposed to be about, right? But again, I feel like a lot of it just happened to be a lot of the popularity just came because of how popular it is and how insanely it just increased in value over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Um, one thing that I felt like when I was talking to people about cryptocurrency is the lack of information, like the
Yes.
lack of really understanding what they're investing in,
Mm-hmm.
or how quick. And I always call these like index cards because it's not their words. It's a word that they either read or maybe a YouTube video of the person explaining what it is because they're being paid by a set company to promote or shill, and that's a word I constantly use on this show. Like these coins, and that's kind of the education that they receive. So it could
Yes.
be through video, it could be through Instagram, or it could be like a MLM where this person said, "Hey, come to my meeting and we'll discuss." And,
And
we're trying to grow together, fam.
and that's where the scammy sort of sketch community comes in, because when there's opportunity, right, and there's a lot of curiosity about something, there's opportunity to make cash out of it, to make money from it, you know, because a lot of people who don't want to do the work and don't really want to know about what it is that they're investing in, they just want to make money from it. You're going to encounter people who will gladly take your money and take advantage of the fact that you don't know any better.
That's another problem too. And like I said, I don't being super repetitive, especially in the show, especially during the NFT episode we did last year. The way it works is you have a group of one percenters on the top that are trading image of it like an NFT and selling it to each other for $1 million. But if you get someone from the lower, from the 99% to buy that NFT from that 1% for like let's say 2 million, now maybe that person will wait like a month or so and try to flip it. It'd be very difficult for them to buy it because nobody in the 1% is interested in buying it because that's the game.
Yes.
So the whole thing now is like people, especially black people, feel like sometimes they're late to the party. And even when they're early, they're still late to the party.
Mm.
It's very hard to reach where you could have that winning story. Like, oh, I put my life savings and I just grew 500%. And I was able to move out into a nice apartment. It's like, well, the story can't end there. You have to continue investing,
Yeah,
right?
you
That's
have
just
to
how life.
continue to trade in order for you to keep up with a lot of that stuff. And I know that like early investors in Bitcoins, I know like they've dedicated a lot of their time to continuously invest in like they've invested in their own mines, their own CPU mines of just mining Bitcoins or mining Ethereum or mining a lot of this cryptocurrency in order
And
to keep
yeah.
maintain that lifestyle.
And it's funny because the cost went down because the worth of the value of Bitcoin went down. The mining
Dramatically.
the mining and all the what's gonna say the cards, the video cards
Mm-hmm.
are no longer being sold out immediately. You can actually buy these video cards right now because they used to sell out the minutes on stock.
Yes.
So you see the cause and effect today. You could go to your local like computer store and you could actually buy these video cards that 2 years ago, even 5 years ago, was sold out. So hey, they're on deals right now. Best time to buy. And because we're talking about like the education, how do you feel about someone like Jay-Z working with
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey to create a Bitcoin Academy literacy program in the Brooklyn public housing complex where Jay-Z grew up
In
himself?
Marcy, I remember hearing about this story, and two things that that I was attentive to is one, what exactly would the classes entail? Like, are you going to give these people the money to invest in this? Or are they going to have to come out their own pocket to try and understand one, cryptocurrency, two, investing, and three, the whole risk and reward thing? Are they going to have to put up their own money in order to do that? Or are you, Jack Dorsey, the man who created Twitter, and are you, Hove, from Marcy Projects, are you going to put up some money for those people in order for them to invest in it? Because, y'all are insanely wealthy, so it may not hurt y'all as much as it can to, your people, Hove.
So yeah, so I did find that article very interesting, even though I think it was well written for what it was, but it did open a lot of different situations that's been happening even since the beginning. This is a much bigger picture because you go as far as like the 80s and the stock markets, and when they had to change the rule to day trade, that you need $25,000 or plus in your bank account to day trade. Those are the reasons for it, because they wanted to make it difficult for people to get in to make money. So to have these get rich quick schemes is very.
Mm-hmm.
You should be very skeptical on every time. But hey, the most I could say is to be careful and understand your risk.
Yes.
Risking your entire saving is never a good idea in anything ever. Not even if you own your own business and you had insurance for it. It will never be a good idea.
Bashtin, there's this gentleman who is known to be one of the world's best gamblers, right? I think his name is Mickey. And I know that he's gotten banned from a lot of casinos because of how much he wins. And what he also does is he would play. It's like he would take people's money, right? And he would play for them, right? In order to gain a sort of profit for them, right? And then he'll take a cut of the earnings as well. And I remember in this particular interview, he always talks about talking with the person who wants him to gamble for them, and he always says, hey, if we go in with this amount of money, are you okay with that? Because I don't want that, because there can be a good chance that all that money can be gone. So say if someone wants him to go in with like $100,000, right? He makes sure, he's like, hey, this is a lot of money, like this is life-changing amount of money, and I might not be able to gain a profit from this. Are you okay with like the fact that, hey, you can potentially lose $100,000, right? I think that's something that needs to be taught to people, right? But also from what he said, a lot of gambling is like mathematics, right? Where you continue to play, and yes, you'll start losing, but if you continue to play long enough, you're going to eventually start winning. And that's how he started gaining a lot of profits from it, because he just understood, start off with a lot of money, right? Like ridiculous amount of money, and then start doing the investments, or then start the gambling, and then you'll see a profit from it.
Those are great questions, and I hope more information comes out of it, because I'm interested, not in doing it, of course. I don't care for those things anymore, but like, what is your game? Do you think financial literacy in the Black community is due to education, or has to do with like how the government treats us, because that's what I think. Yeah, I think there's a much bigger picture to that, and
I think it's a lot of that. I think it's
investing
both.
Because I always hear about when I listen to podcasts and politics talk about like the GI Bill and how that helped a lot of people after I think World War II. Don't quote me on that. How it kind of helped people go to school, and how it helped World War II veterans, and how it helped people go to school, own businesses, buy land or buy properties. Like, that's what helped them. It's not like people just came out from the war and started doing well. There was a bill that helped them, and of course it was it wasn't easy for black people to get those benefits after the war, but that's the game. And this is pretty much where they want us to go. To invest your hard-earned money on random things with high risk. So yeah, that's something I just wanted to quickly discuss on this show.
No, it's good to discuss, and it's always a fun topic to discuss financial literacy and crypto and a lot of NFT stuff, because it's still a thing. And now that the Staples Center is no longer the Staples Center and it's the crypto.com arena, and we see a lot of commercials promoting crypto investments, and you see commercials of young LeBron James talking to old LeBron James, and it's a whole crypto thing. It's important to talk about, because now that it's reading the climax in popularity, there's going to be a lot of people, mainly a lot of people of color, who see a lot of these celebrities attached to those commercials. They're going to be curious, and they're going to want to try and invest in that stuff. So it's good for them to understand risk and reward. It's important for them to understand financial literacy. It's important to them to understand cryptocurrency and the stock markets and NFTs. So of course, this is not the end of our discussion about this. It's definitely going to come up again. Someone's going to get scammed out of something, or someone is going to trick some billionaire into giving them a crap load of money to invest in whatever. So when that happens, Black Seinfeld is going to be here to discuss it. We're going to be here to talk about it, and we're going to be here to talk about the PPP loan scam movie soon.
I think, quick question for you. Who do you think should be the first people to take the Jay-Z class? If you were to name...
Like, I have to name someone?
No, like, who do you think should take it, though? The Jay-Z class when it comes to Brooklyn. You know who I think?
Who?
The Brooklyn Nets. All right, so let's get into for their bad investments.
Did you really do that?
Let's get into the next song of the day. This is an old classic. This is by Mary J. Blige, and this is called My Life.
Mary J. Blige, My Life, of course, sampling the famous Roy Ayers. Everybody Loves the Sunshine. Great record. Essential summer tune, in my opinion, for the warm weather.
I think it's the Spike Lee-esque energy.
Yes.
When it's the afternoon, it's extremely hot and it's depressing. Like those old school Spike Lee movies. That's why I feel it's a perfect summer tune for it.
It is. It 100%
visualize it.
Yeah, I definitely can visualize that. It's been like that for the past couple of days, since it's been like 90 degrees, 88 degrees, nothing but humidity, hair all frizzy and messed up. Yeah, that's the perfect song to encapsulate what we've been going through here in New York for the past week. 100%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, non-binaries, transgenders, we're getting ready to wrap up soon, and here's my favorite part of the night, where I get to talk about some movies that I've seen recently. Here to give my opinion. I'm here to tell you whether you should go ahead and see it, whether you should go ahead and skip it, or hey, maybe wait for it to come out on streaming platforms, because I don't want you to spend your money on it when you can spend your money, well, you're already spending your money on the respective platforms that it's going to eventually come on. So I'm going to get this one out the way first, okay? It's the one that everyone's been talking about on Twitter. It's the one where the black community has been talking about heavily this past week, because Elvis, the biopic has come out last weekend, starring Austin Butler, who, kudos to him, because for those of you Nickelodeon kids that grew up back in the 2000s, you knew Austin Butler was on Zoe 101 when Chase went to the British boarding school to chase after Zoe, but little did his ass know that Zoe went back to PCA, and therefore there was no Chase for that season, and Zoe booed up Austin Butler. Yes, him, Austin Butler, was Elvis Presley in this movie. Also, you had the one, the only, Chet Hanks' father, Tom Hanks, as Colonel Park. Hey, he is Chet Hanks' pops, all right? Don't do that to White Boy Summer Chet Bashtin, okay, aka Curtis from Atlanta season 3. All right.
Okay.
You know, he's his own his own good actor too. Allegedly. But Colonel Parker as Elvis's manager, who is basically one of Elvis's only managers other than his mom. And so this movie was interesting, Bashtin. I'll say that. Because Austin Butler's portrayal of Elvis, I think Austin Butler looked exactly like Elvis. He sounded like Elvis. He got down his moves. He got down his mannerisms very well, to a T. It felt like I wasn't watching Austin Butler. He didn't even look like Austin Butler. He looked like Elvis. And he sounded like Elvis. And he portrayed Elvis in a way where you honestly just thought it was Elvis. Tom Hanks always does a brilliant job, because I think Tom Hanks is one of the few actors that we have where you look at them on the screen and you don't see Tom Hanks. You always see the character on screen. I don't know if you agree with me with that or not, but I think Tom Hanks is one of the few actors that do that. When Forrest Gump or Stranded or Saving Private Ryan, I
agree. I definitely could see the character first before I was like, oh yeah, it's played by him.
Yes. And so this story was a bit interesting because black people has always had their reservations about Elvis Presley as far as music is concerned, because we always knew of Elvis. The portrayal of Elvis is the king of rock and roll, but black people knew that Elvis bit his style off of a lot of black artists, a lot of blues artists, a lot of R&B artists. And it's interesting because the movie does not shy away from Elvis's influences of B.B. King and all those blues artists that came out of Memphis and Memphis, Tennessee. And so it was good for the movie to show that. But if you knew like Elvis Presley, like the artist during that time, you know, he wasn't really vocal about black people and like the black struggle like that. Sure, he talked about the influences there, but you know, he was never outwardly open when it came to showing solidarity to black people. Now, back then, was it smart of him to do that? Probably. You know what I'm saying? But for someone who apparently grew up around black people, grew up in black neighborhoods, was looked at as, you know, someone who wasn't like the whitest of people for hanging around black people and listening to black music, which was back then Bashtin considered, you know, it wasn't considered good music. It wasn't considered appropriate music. It was looked down upon. You know what I'm saying? I thought, you know, Elvis should be a bit more vocal about you know, being around black people, hanging out in black clubs and all that stuff. That's just me personally. Chuck D, of course, had the famous quote, as always. One moment. Elvis was a hero to most, but he never to me. The sucker was racist, put it simple and plain. Mother Kim and John Wayne from, of course, Fight the Power, which we're bringing it back to Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. But other than that, Bashtin, take all that out. Is it a great movie? Unfortunately, yes. Do I recommend y'all go seeing it if you're not familiar with Elvis, yes. One thing I will say, one critique I will give it is it doesn't really focus on the music that much. It more just focuses on just the Elvis's career. It hits the pinpoint. It hits the pinpoint of the life of Elvis, right? From its beginnings in the 50s of, covering, Elvis to Pelvis, which basically was the media's portrayal of Elvis's dancing, where he did a lot of pelvic thrusts and the women went crazy over it, and him going to jail for it, and him having to go to the army for it because of all that stuff, and him basically getting kicked out of the music industry, then him coming back to doing movies, and becoming more of a family-friendly Elvis, where it wasn't that many hip thrusts and none of that dancing stuff, and he started just doing a lot more movies, and then his return to music, Colonel Parker's the Colonel's dealings with the mafia, because Elvis and Las Vegas go hand in hand together, and so he did like 5 years performing of the International, which Elvis performing at that hotel, it really put that hotel on the map, and just a lot of that stuff was taken into account. But I think what was cool is it wasn't told from the Elvis's perspective. It was told from the Colonel's perspective as he was like withering away in death, right? It was basically used to like clear his name of any wrongdoings with Elvis, because apparently the Colonel took like 50% of everything Elvis ever earned. And as a manager, that's looked at as stealing. It's looked at as highway robbery, because as a manager, good manager, like you're supposed to take at least 10%, never half. And Elvis was broke because of all of the pills and the partying and
the food.
Well, they didn't really talk about Fat Elvis like that at all, actually.
Oh,
no, they didn't talk about Fat Elvis. They just
ended with him on the toilet.
They did not end with Elvis on the toilet. It ended with him. It actually ended with his last ever performance in 1977, where he was at his fattest, where he wasn't at his most healthiest, to say, yeah. I should say. Yeah, it was not good. My man's was not looking good, man. It was a far cry from how he looked in the 50s and the 60s. I'll tell you that much. And
articles I read because of that movie is so funny, talking about his diet and the Fool's Gold sandwich I told you about.
Yeah, I didn't think it was real.
Well, I think so, because like I said, people were talking about this because it was his special, because he used to eat it every time he went on the plane. Mm-hmm. So it was like one full jar of jelly, one full jar of peanut butter with bacon, with 6 pounds of bacon.
That is sick.
In a bun, just eat. Yeah, no comment.
See, I knew Elvis to have his own sandwich, which was the Elvis sandwich, which was like peanut butter and banana. I knew that one.
They also in those same articles, and I had to find it for you so I can send it to you. In those same articles, they're talking about how his doctor was telling him, like, hey, you have a lot of issues, intestinal issues. Like we gotta talk, and him just being constipated every single day for over a year and just not doing anything about it.
Man, yeah, they didn't talk about any of that. Basically, they're like, oh, what killed Elvis? He was like, oh, they were like, oh, it was the pills. It was the partying, but more importantly, it was you, the audience, and that was it. They didn't talk about like his shape or eating, what the hell is it called?
Fool's Gold. The
Fool's Gold sandwich. They didn't talk about none of that. They talked about his shaky relationship with his wife, Priscilla Presley. They didn't really go into the cheating and all that stuff. They didn't go into any of that stuff. They basically showed Elvis off in the best of light as possible. So I think if you're not a fan of Elvis, or you're not that too familiar with Elvis, I think this is a good starting point for you to get familiar with Elvis. I think some of the scenes in the movies, I think they just did it for movie magic, like they covered the assassination of Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy. And, they had Elvis like, oh, man, that's so sad. Like, we should do something.
What? They did that?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. They're like, oh man, that's so horrible. You know, we should do something about that. And you know, during the Elvis special, he had his own like sort of political song about everything that was happening in the '60s. And but again, not to my knowledge, I haven't really seen Elvis or read anything about Elvis showing outward solidarity to the black community. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, but
I'll
it's a good
probably
movie.
watch it
Yeah,
in
you
like
could
2
watch
years,
it.
3 years from
Yeah,
now.
watch it in 2 or 3 years, Bastion. It's not a bad movie. Austin Butler does a good. I'm telling you, man. This was like a star-making role for Austin Butler, man. He can only go butt up from this movie. Absolutely. Damn. Shout out to Nickelodeon. You done did it again. Unlikely with Austin Butler. I gotta keep it G with you, but you know, hey, shout out to Austin Butler, man. I'm proud of you.
What else did you watch during these past few weeks?
Another movie I saw the past few weeks, I saw Top Gun Maverick for the second time. Now,
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, I am listen, don't judge me. I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise movies, okay? I love Tom Cruise movies, okay? Tom Cruise is one of the few white boys that does his own action scenes, and I respect it. I respect how much he takes times out for these movies, how much he takes time out to learn these action scenes, and how much time he does to execute these scenes, all right? I remember having a conversation with my friend Julian, right? And we had a discussion about movies that we wish would have been sequels, right? And so I remember the new Top Gun coming out because I love the original Top Gun that came out in '86, right? It's about, you know, fighter pilots, you know, it's about the Navy and, you know, fighter jets and all that stuff. It looked completely badass, right? Sort of corny now if in retrospect, if you go back and watch the original Top Gun in '86, Bastion. Have you ever seen the original Top Gun, Bastion?
not in a long time. I don't remember it.
Oh, it's okay. It's fine. It's kind of corny now if you take a look back at it. But I remember the sequel was announced when I went to go watch Star Wars Episode 9 back in December of 2019. That movie, Bastion, was supposed to come out in 2020, summer 2020, but of course, we did not get that due to COVID. So we had to wait 2 whole years for this goddamn movie to come out. And I have to be honest with you, Bastion. This is one of the few times where the sequel is better than the original in every way because it's 30 years later, right? Technology has improved. Man, Tom Cruise was really in them fighter jets. The flying was amazing. I felt like you were actually in the fighter jets, you know. And I don't know about you, Bastion, but you know how you get a bit of elevation. Maybe when you're on the elevator, when you're on the plane, you know how you get that feeling when you climb something, you get that feeling in your balls. You know what I'm saying? You get that feeling. You get that feeling when you're in the theater.
The anxiety, you feel the anxiety inducing.
Yes, you get
your experience.
Yes, you experience that in the theater. So I recommend y'all, if they still have it available for IMAX and the big ass screen and that big ass surround system, go see it like that version. Go see that version immediately. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. I think it does a great job in, you know, if you have not seen the first Top Gun, would it be helpful if you've seen the first Top Gun? Yes, but even if you didn't, like, I think it's easy for you to follow the movie, which is not easy to do for a lot of sequels, right?
But I think his Mission Impossible series is really good at doing that.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to watch the last one because they'll discuss it, but sometimes it has nothing to do with it.
Right. Right. But in this movie, they don't really like talk about what happened in the beginning. They didn't like dedicate 5 minutes of like, oh, this is what happened in the last movie. No, it gradually talks about what has happened in the last movie as the stories progress, as the story's progressing. I think the characters are easily likable. My guy John Hamm is in it, so that's an easy W for me. Val Kilmer is in the movie, reprising his role as Iceman. You know, although Val Kilmer's going through a lot of like health issues, he's still in the movie, and he still does a great job with being limited in what he can do. I think.
Bob Seller.
But yes, Bob Sellers in it. Who else? Of course, like the new guys are in it. Like my guy Jay Ellis from Insecure, he's in it. Shout out to him. Working with Tom Cruise, son, we made it. We outside. Shout out to Jay Ellis. Shout out to Lawrence. But yeah, man, I love the movie. I love the movie. I have one critique of the damn movie though, of watching it a second time. Because this is a Navy movie, it's a military movie. It's a very pro-military sort of movie. You see a lot of the American
propaganda.
Pro propaganda. You see a lot of the American flag, and if I can choose any song to represent this movie, it's that damn country song. I'm proud to be an American. That song. That song is freaking plastered throughout this whole damn movie. But see, that's the power of media, Bashtin. That's the power of media, because I'm not gonna lie, it made being part of the Navy look so badass. It made it look so goddamn cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, damn, let me go and listen to the Navy trying to fly some fighter jets. I want to be like Top Gun. God damn it. That's the power of media right there. And I knew it was just a farce. I knew it was a lie. But when I was watching that movie, Bashtin, I got engulfed in it. I got entranced in it. I believed in it. I'm not going to lie to you. And that's the power of Tom Cruise. And that's the power of good movie making, God damn it. But also, there's a lot of talk of the enemy in the movie, right? And the movie outright just says the enemy because they can't really name like a country. So in my humble opinion, remember this movie was supposed to come out in 2020. So, and this was made, it had to be made like 2019, 2018 even. So this movie, like, I don't think it was based on Russia as of yet. If I had to pick on who the enemy would have been in this movie, I'm gonna keep it G. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna keep it a sec. I'm gonna say it's China. It's easily China. 100%. Unequivocally, it's China. 100%. That's who the enemy is in the movie, but they don't say it. They just say the enemy. So keep that in mind as well. If you can go past all the pro-war propaganda and you want to see some badass fighter jets and you want to see Tom Cruise do Tom Cruise things, go see Top Gun Maverick. You will enjoy it. I promise you. That's why he's been doing so goddamn well at the box office, because you know how the conservatives are, like, yeah, we don't want any woke stuff in our movies. Top Gun is the antithesis. It's the antithesis of that.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'll definitely put it on my list.
Put that on your list, Bashtin. I don't know if you have Paramount Plus. I have Paramount Plus for 2 months. Shout out to my clients, who's partnering up with Paramount Plus. I got that free subscription. So I think it's going to be on Paramount Plus as well. So I'm going to go watch that again for a third time because it's that good. It makes you want to drink a Budweiser. Next week, I guess I'll talk about the remaining movies. But for now,
we got like a few minutes left.
Yeah, it's 1:53 right now, and I want to get to the last song because it's like 5 minutes. So, everyone, thank you all so much for being here at Black Seinfeld. We appreciate you once again. Please hit us up with the email at blackseinfeldny@gmail.com to leave any comments, questions if you have any. Follow us on all of our social medias. Please follow us on all the podcasting platforms such as Podomatic, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, all that good stuff. Thank you all once again. Bashtin, do you have anything to say to the people before we head out?
We'll be back next week.
All right. Take care, everyone. Peace.
Peace.